So everyone wants to hit that tight draw or tight fade like the pros do, but a result, we just hit that big slice. So in this video, I'm going to show you why that happens and how to fix it. Let's get started. The curve on the ball is created when your club path is going in a different direction than your face angle. So let me demonstrate. So I put a couple alignment sticks down. The yellow alignment stick is going to resemble the club face, and the blue alignment stick is going to resemble the club path. So right now I have them pointing in the same direction. This is going to be a perfectly straight shot where the ball doesn't curve at all. When the path is pointing left, then we're going to create a cut motion where the path is left of the club face. We're basically cutting across it. And the difference between these is how much it's going to curve. So if the difference is a lot, meaning the path is pointing way left of the face, it's going to slice. But if it's just a little bit, small difference, then it's just going to be a small fade. Now that you understand what the club is doing to create this curve or this slice, we're going to understand what you are doing in your swing to create this out to in motion, creating the slice. So there's a couple different things that could cause it. First is going to be the grip. For most people who hit a slice when they grip the club, if they look down, they won't be able to see any knuckles on their lead hand. This is called a weak grip. Just makes it easier to leave the face open. What we're looking for is to rotate our hand over so we can see two knuckles on our lead hand. And then with our right hand, when we grip the club, this crease that's created by your thumb should be pointed towards your trail armpit. This grip is just going to make it easier to square up the club face on the way through. When our grip is weak, squaring it up is a lot more difficult. We have to flip our hands over. So when we get a little more neutral, squaring up the face is a lot easier. So the next aspect that could cause this out to in motion to create the slice is your setup. A lot of people, they set up a little too far from the ball. So their weight's a little more on their toes, and you can see that my armpit's over my toes. So I'm stretched out too far. From here, you're unable to turn back without standing up. You just don't have the balance, and you don't have the rotation. So to compensate for this, if we don't want to stand up, they just use their arms and we don't rotate. When we don't rotate and we start with our arms, then in the transition, we also want to start with our arms, making this plane a lot steeper and creating that out to in motion. Editor Darren here. So I talk a lot about steepening the plane in this video, and I understand not everyone's going to know what that means. So here's the explanation. You want to look at the shaft in the transition and the beginning of the downswing. So if the plane or the angle the shaft is at gets steeper, this is steepening the plane, meaning you're going to cut across it and going to have a steep attack angle. The idea is to shallow it so the club goes from a steeper angle to a shallower angle, basically meaning the club head is going to drop back and the club is going to get closer to parallel with the ground instead of perpendicular to the ground. So the goal is to get a little closer to the ball. We want to feel the weight in about the balls of our feet, and this is going to get us in a position where we can actually turn and keep this spine angle without having to rip our hands back to move the club. So we can turn using our hips and shoulders and get the club in a good position, and it's now in a position where we can turn back down, letting the club shallow or drop, come from the inside instead of the outside. The next aspect that could create this out to in motion to create the slice is the length of your golf swing. Now most people don't have enough shoulder turn or shoulder flexibility to get the club past parallel without collapsing our arms and getting disconnected. Disconnected meaning your hands and arms are moving at a different rate than your body. And when we get to the top and our shoulders are maxed out on how much they can turn, then our arms keep going and get behind us. And then in our transition, we have to start with the arms and hands to get back in front of our chest. And while we do this, we steepen the plane, creating the club come from outside to in to create that slice. So we want to focus on shortening up our swing is what it's going to feel like. We're just going to rotate with our hips and shoulders and go all the way to the top until we can't turn our shoulders anymore. And we're going to stop there. It's going to look really short in your practice swing, but in your regular swing, it's going to go a little farther. This again is going to get you in a better position so you can turn, start with the lower body on the way down, let the club shallow and not come from the outside to in, it'll come in to out. And the third aspect is the start of your swing. Just making sure you stay connected. And what do I mean by connected? Making sure your body and arms move at the same rate and not starting with your arms with no body rotation. Now, when people do that, they start with their hands and arms, the club gets sucked inside and the face is way open. And then when we get to the top, we have little body rotation and our hands are open and behind us. From here, we know if we just turn and don't use our arms, the club face is going to be pointing way to the right. We're going to hit it sideways. We don't want to do that. So what do? Club's behind us. We start with our arms steepening the plane. Now we're in a position where the club face isn't wide open and we're not going to hit it way right to start, but the path is coming from outside to in. So although the ball's not going to start way out to the right, the ball's still going to curve out to the right because of this path. So what our goal is to start with our hips and shoulders, feeling like we don't use our arms at all, and we simply just rotate. See, I didn't move my arms at all. We just rotated my chest and shoulders. Now we're in a good position. We can keep turning and get to the top. Now you're again in a position. You can start turning with your lower body. The club's going to shallow, not get steeper. It's going to shallow, put you in a position to swing from inside to out and not out to in. So we've gone over a few culprits on this slice motion, and we've briefly gone over how to fix it. But let's recap. First, we want to make sure you have a good grip, meaning you want to see 2 knuckles on your lead hand when you look down. And then in the trail hand, we want to see the crease that's created by our thumb pointing towards our trail armpit. Next is our setup. We address the ball. We want to make sure we feel the weight in the balls of our feet. This is going to get us in a good position. We're not too far away from the ball leaning over. We're good and balanced over the ball. And next, we want to make sure we stay connected and rotate, starting the club with our hips and shoulders, not our hands. The goal is to turn with our hips and shoulders, and the club's going to be just outside of our hands or just over our hands. And then as we turn on the way down, we're going to be able to shallow using our hips and legs to start the downswing. The club is going to drop and shallow, not get steep. The club's going to come from the inside and move from the out. Just something you can look for to make sure you're not getting too steep is on the down the line view. If the club on the way down is outside of the hands, then you're too steep and the club is coming from outside to in. But on the way down, if the club is over the hands or inside the hands, then you're moving on a good plane or moving in to out, reducing the slice/fade, or even creating a draw. So again, good setup, good grip. Make sure we use our body rotation and less arms. And we should reduce that slice. That's all I have for you today. I hope you can take what you learned here and start reducing that slice. Start hitting a little straighter, maybe even a little draw. Thank you for watching to the end of the video. If you learned something, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video.